All right, like I promised, we're going to be talking about this new directive that was given yesterday. What does it mean and what do we need to know? National Security Advisory Committee yesterday warned that politicians will be held accountable for their utterances at gatherings and on social media, especially if they are inciting, if they're intimidating, and of course, if they're inflammatory. We've got Demas Kiprono. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Welcome to Morning Vibes. We appreciate you taking the time. Of course, for those who are listening in, Demas Kiprono works at Amnesty International and is here to help us decipher what this directive means. So, Demas,
Yes.
I wanted to ask, yesterday, what does this directive mean? Yesterday, the NCAS came out and said that politicians will be held accountable. What does this mean?
So basically, the National Security Advisory Council came out and noted with concern that there was heightened problematic speech going on.
Yeah.
And then they read out different laws that regulate speech. So laws that regulate hate speech under the National Cohesion and Integration Commission Act.
Yes.
Media regulation issues and public order management laws. And so it was directed at members of the public, social media users, leaders, and the members of the media.
Yeah.
And basically warning them of consequences of any speech that is likely to cause mayhem in the country. Yeah, but the problem is over the past 10 years or so, we realized that our laws on speech are quite vague.
Yes.
So that whatever you would say is insulting to me would not be under someone else. It's very subjective.
And
yet, yet as a matter of necessity, laws that limit freedom of expression must be clear and concise.
yeah.
So that every Kenyan, every judicial officer, every police officer would also be clear when they'll be able to detect it immediately they see it.
And that brings me to my question, Demas. One of the biggest challenges, they're out here saying you will be arrested, you will be prosecuted for inciting chaos, security, whether you're on social media, whether you're in the media. They're even talking about WhatsApp groups. But we've heard this before. What about implementation? Because when it comes to hate speech, we see politicians being arrested, and then when they go to court, it falls apart. The case falls apart.
Yes. Well, the cases fall apart because really it's very difficult for a judge, guided by the Constitution as it is, to find that someone has been has clearly violated the law in terms of hate speech. I think one thing that we should be doing is educating Kenyans that under the Constitution, the kind of speech that is not allowed, is actually hate speech, incitement to violence, advocacy for hatred, and speech that encourages discrimination. However, in court, it must be proven that you had that criminal intent to cause this thing, this violence. Yet our political rhetoric has always been like this. So is it an issue of just our political culture?
Yeah.
As in, whenever we're going towards the elections, we begin heightening the temperatures. We begin hiring goons and actually using media and social media in a bad way, or is it an issue that our laws have not caught up with hate speech provisions?
And that's a question that one of our listeners is asking. Can the freedom of expression be confused with hate speech or defamatory statements? Because when this directive was given, there was no explanation step by step of this is examples. Because at the end of the day, we do have the freedom to speak, but now this freedom, I could say something that could be seen as inflammatory. But where do we draw the line?
I think we should draw the line in understanding that the speech that is actually prohibited is propaganda for war, incitement to violence, hate speech, which, as if you look at like international law, hate speech is that kind of speech that targets a protected group. Protected groups include tribe, race, ethnic affiliation,
Yes.
and also other things such as social status. So it is something that really evokes some discrimination and exclusion of certain people.
Okay, so you're talking about exclusion. I wonder,
Yeah.
I'm going to take a short commercial break right now. Of course, we're speaking to Dimas Kiprono. Dimas, you're talking about exclusion. There has been this rhetoric about the hustler and this
Yes.
term hustler. With people on one end saying, look, we are all in this. You can't just say you and some people are the hustlers. We are all hustlers.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like there's a group that's being left out of it, that you're either in this or you're not part of it. Is this part of what is being called inflammatory? I want you to hold that thought as we get back into the music. When I come back, we will continue the conversation.
All right.
Babylon must have forget blast away.
Modern Vibes, where you are the MVP.
Now, on the line, we got Dimas Kiprono, campaign manager of Dignity and Safety at Amnesty International, and he's helping us decipher what this new directive means. Dimas, welcome back.
Thank you.
So we were talking about, some people feeling, left out or marginalized by the conversation, the political conversation or the political temperature. Is this part of this conversation? Is this part of the people who are being targeted by this directive?
Well, I wouldn't know what persuaded the designation of exclusion of certain economic groups by the chancellor.
Yeah.
But for ourselves, does the term hustler exclude other people? Is it a protected group under the law? If you look at Article 27 of the Constitution of Kenya, it talks about not allowing discrimination on the basis of gender, race, pregnancy, religious affiliation, political affiliation.
Yes.
So for me, I would not think it rises to that level in terms of in the judicial sense. Yes, but we also have to understand that politics, by its very nature, usually evokes these issues of class. Think about it. In the American elections right now, they're talking about winning the middle class.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a term that has always been used in their political discourse, and it should not actually evoke any special attention. However, if it is meant or it is seen that it has the danger of imminent violence, then it is upon the state to show that this is intended for these consequences, and the criminal justice process would follow. Yeah, but the very nature of politics is one that everyone has the freedom of expression, the freedom of thought, the freedom of conscience, and also the freedom to participate in political processes. So it's also quite tricky to try and control political discourse and speech, because without speech, there is no politics, there's no democracy. And there's no media too, because the media reports on what is going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm looking at there's been when the directive was given yesterday, there was also the mention of using your social media platforms. If you post something that's inflammatory or defamatory, you could get arrested. You will be charged. You can't say niliambiwa or niliforward. You have to hold yourself accountable. Now, when you look at the trend list, every single day, it almost seems like there's a war going on. Right now, we're talking about Karen War Council, which is the number one hashtag. And if you see all the comments that are there, I don't know, is this part of, because a lot of youth are getting caught up in these kinds of conversations. Are these some of the people who are being targeted in such communication?
Yes. Ideally, clearly you can see that these are the people that are being targeted in terms of wanting to control what is or the kind of content that is discussed online.
Yeah.
However, the danger is that what is discussed online is just a reflection of society itself. Yeah. So there are certain societies that have come up with certain rules that require for you to be found liable. They require you to have been given someone to have complained, and for you to be given time to remove that post. Yeah. So there are other processes involved, but ideally retweeting or sharing content should not be criminalized. Because we have seen other societies, we've seen this happen in Ethiopia over the past 10 years and in Tanzania over the past 4 or 5 years, where certain laws targeting online usage and journalists are used to basically close down the political discourse, to close down debate.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it always attacks independent bloggers, what do you call it? Investigative journalists and public intellectuals.
Yeah.
Because rarely does the government go for its own people, even when they offend community standards. The guide that should be followed by everyone is what is in Article 33(2) of our Constitution. So that if you see a post that clearly says kill this protected group or burn their houses, that is clearly a violation of freedom of speech under the Constitution, and this should be reflected in our laws, in the NCIC Act and the Penal Code. But they have to really break down what this entails. So if you consciously share certain material that is outrightly against the Constitution, you should be found liable and should be able to be taken to court.
Okay.
But the trick is they have to really find out what kind of speech is this.
Yeah.
Because if you talk about vague terms such as what I saw in the statement, there was a term like sending annoying or negative comments. I would never talk about my opponent in the positive light.
Yeah, true.
It's always going to be negative comments.
Yeah.
So where do we strike the balance between freedom of speech and hate speech?
And hate speech. So Dimas, I'm listening to you and I'm like, this sounds like, tough talking that will be hard to implement.
Yes. Think about it. We've had only one conviction on hate speech, and that was this university student, Alan Wadi, who had said certain things about the president and a certain ethnic group in the coast that they do not belong. And he was hurriedly arrested at the border. I think he was trying to escape, taken to court, forced to take plea. And he even said that he doesn't think his mind is okay, but then convicted.
Yeah.
And on appeal, that the only case on outright hate speech that was actually convicted was overturned. The rest of the arrests that we've seen have not been successful cases. Because one has to explicitly target a group and target them for harm.
All right, so I'm sitting here thinking, okay, this is going to be hectic, but they're saying that they're still coming for the admins of the social media groups, which is my next question. We're going to take another short commercial break. Thank you so much, Dimas, for hanging in there. I'm going to come back and speak to you. For those of you who are listening in, you are on Morning Vibes with your captain of good vibes. They call me Kwambokes. On Jadala today, we're talking about this directive that was given by the National Security Advisory Committee yesterday. If you didn't catch it, wamesema kaa ni mse wa hate speech, weni mse wa inflammatory conversations, weni mse wa kudefame wase unasema kitu yenye hata hauja confirm ati mimi nilisikia mse ni muizi hizo. They bring a political, they raise a political temperature, you could get arrested. And Dimas Kiprono from Amnesty International is helping us decipher this. So far, can you mean I get? This is tough talking that they might not be able to implement. Just want to remind you on Morning Vibes with your captain of good vibes. They call me Combokes. And thank you so much for being here. Remember, Reggae MVP is still going down tomorrow. What? Tomorrow. Oh my God. Do you know how many people have sent their videos? Wase wengi wametuma videos za Reggae MVP. Of course, it's the biggest reggae singing competition, the first of its kind in the 254. And we're looking for people who love reggae music and can sing reggae music from the depths of their soul. The song of this week, the one that you're supposed to sing tomorrow. If you want to stand a chance to be part of Reggae MVP, you got to sing this one.
Nice to know ya, let's do it again. How we did it on a one night stand. Girl, I wanna be more than a friend. Know ya. Nice to know ya, let's do it again. How we did it on a one night stand. Girl, I wanna be more than a friend. Do ya? Nice to know ya, let's do it again. How we did it on a one night stand. Girl, I wanna be more than a friend.
It's that simple. Record a video of yourself singing that hook and post it on hashtag Reggae MVP, hashtag Combokes Vibes. Do it right now. Otherwise, you're going to miss your chance to perform tomorrow. There is a super prize. Shout out to Sarafina, by the way, who is the person to beat. She sings so good. So anza tuku practice, weka video yako online, and tomorrow there will be a super guest judge here in studio who will help us figure out who sang best. So, we're speaking to Dimas Kiprono, of course, who's on the line. Dimas, karibu sana.
Asante.
All right, so we are talking about this directive that, National Council Security Advisory Committee gave yesterday about, my hate speech, basically, in lack of a better term. They want to rein in this hate speech. We can feel that the political temperature in the country is raising too fast. And so they put this out there. Now, Dimas, there's that part where he talks about social media administrators. Ka when him say ukona group hapo and you're an administrator, you are likely to be liable for all the conversations that will be going down there, especially if they're inflammatory, if they're defamatory, and they're hate speech, basically. How do you think that's going to unfold? And what should group... So if I have a WhatsApp group hapo, I should be checking what everybody's posting.
So last year, the National Assembly tried to make amendments to the Kenya Information and Communication Act.
Yes.
That would have basically given admins some responsibilities, some legal responsibilities, and also even proposed sort of a tax for anyone who publishes online. We went to give our views to the National Assembly Committee on Communication and Innovation, and they abandoned all those proposals. So as we speak, there is no legal basis for what the committee said. So there is no law that criminalizes admins. You're only criminalized for the things that you author and the things that you sometimes the criminal liability can come for sharing, but that has not been established as precedents in Kenya. So far, our laws have not caught up or do not provide for such criminalization.
Okay.
So one wonders what they were thinking or what they were referring to.
Yeah, because it says very clearly that the administrators will be held responsible if the discussions contain hate. Now I'm thinking, Dimas, if we, we're a group of people, we've found ourselves in a WhatsApp group, and then someone decides to post something there. Me who formed the WhatsApp group, is it me they're telling that it should contain the conversation?
You see, the legal principle that people should be responsible for their actions is defeated there. Yeah. So as we speak, there is no legal basis for what they said, and they tried it in terms of legislation, and it was shot down.
Okay. Now, so of course, clearly that one is. So what? So this is just conversation that has no legal basis.
Yes, on that one, because I was involved in the parliamentary process, I know that there is no legal basis for that.
Okay, so Dimas, hearing what clearly there is concern with the reason why they put this out. They are concerned that there's things, and they've put out directives, but the law is not supporting their directives. Is this National Security Advisory Committee, basically a watchdog with no teeth?
I wouldn't say it's a watchdog with no teeth, but I would just caution that, first of all, they should avoid behaving like they legislate.
Yeah.
Like they create laws. Laws are created by Parliament. The other thing is that they should know that the Constitution binds every state organ to obey the Constitution, to obey the laws of the land.
Yeah.
Yes, and every law, even previous laws, should be gauged to see whether they sit well with the current legal reality. These days, there is public participation, there is upward governance, not downward governance, right?
Yeah.
So perhaps just to enrich the conversation, we should sit down and decide what really entails hate speech. The Kenya National Law Reform Commission, in conjunction with Parliament, should basically review our laws to reflect the best interest and what Kenyans want. Yeah, we should not rely on archaic laws that may close down the political atmosphere to levels that we wanted to come out of. That notwithstanding, we should also hold people liable when they have clearly broken the law. And by the law here, I say the constitutional standards on freedom of expression. Because without freedom of expression, without freedom of association, freedom of assembly, there is no democracy
at all.
And you only need to look at dictatorships and know that they police rallies. They police what the media says. They police social media. So we need to make a distinction on what we want.
Okay. Yeah. And finally, Dimas, there's this politician. I'm not going to mention who it is, but this was on news, and this politician was in, let's say, Kisii, for example, right? And they're speaking in public, telling the people that someone from Tuseme Meru cannot come here seeking a governor's seat. They can't be given because the governor's seat is for the locals. Labda akisukuma sana tumpatie deputy. Is that hate speech?
Well, that has certain ingredients. It has identified a protected group, so that's a tick, and it has threatened certain consequences. However, did he say that tutawapiga ama tutawafukuza, or did he say something like that?
No.
Something that,
no.
Yeah. So that is the problem. So so you can say that this county is for locals, which is problematic speech, which might rise to some certain criminal provisions in the National Cohesion and Integration Act. But the work of proving this in court is very difficult.
Wow.
Yeah, because he might say, you remember when a certain Nairobi legislator said that tutawaweka tire.
I'll never forget that.
And then when he was arrested, he said, tulisema tutaweka tu tire.
Tusukume gari
tire aende.
All right, but I mean, I know we're laughing, but this is a really serious matter. It seems we're going into a very, we're going into a very heated time as a country. What should, if you're a lawyer, what advice would you give a young person who's going to be used, we've told Shika, this year is a sponsored hashtag, go out there, say some things. Of course, for them they're looking at, this is a quick buck to make, but what should they know as they're taking that quick buck?
They should know that the political actors over the last quarter century or even more have been the same people. These people have been together in the same political formations. They've broken up, sometimes come back together.
Yeah.
They only, and their children are never involved in this violence, such as the one that we've seen in Murang'a, where two young individuals died, a 21-year-old and a 15-year-old. Right?
Yeah.
And the economic situation in Kenya, which makes you want to take a handout, is a direct product of bad governance and a bad culture. So they should try their best to break that cycle.
Okay.
Political parties are supposed to offer solutions, not just based on rhetoric or based on false promises.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you so much, Dimas. And I know we're going to be speaking as a friend of Vibes. Dimas Kiprono there from Amnesty International and, of course, campaign manager for Dignity and Safety. Thank you so much and do have a great day.
You too.
All right. There you had it. I like what he said. He said that you as a young person, your responsibility, the part that you can actually play to end this rhetoric, hata kama uko broke mazi mtu amekulipa, the most important thing you need to understand, your responsibility is to break the cycle. So, umesikia all the information. It's your choice. Are you going to take that quick cash kwenda kufanya mahashtag za watu wenye ni mabeshte? Watoi wao hawapigani? Mtoi wake ana tweet juu ya Beyonce na wewe una tweet juu ya sijui nani must go. Or are you going to end the cycle and say, if you want to fight, you tweet for yourself?
Vibes Radio, we rule the nation in this generation.